Tesla's new Giga Press just made every other car factory obsolete. Somewhere in Fremont right now, a 9,000-ton machine is punching out an entire car body in about 80 seconds. That's not the story. The story is what happened after. In less than 3 years, this machine went from Tesla's weird secret weapon to mandatory homework for every car company on Earth. And here's the part almost nobody's covering. Some of them are failing that assignment badly. One of them isn't even the company you'd expect. So, what is this thing actually? It's called the Giga Press. Picture a machine roughly the size of a house, over 60 feet long, more than 400 tons, and what it does is almost stupidly simple. It injects molten aluminum into a mold, and out comes an entire section of a car's underbody. One piece. Not 70 pieces welded together by robots. One. Sounds like a manufacturing footnote, right? It isn't. When Tesla brought this online for the Model Y, industry reporting suggests they eliminated something like 1,600 individual welds in a single move. On the Model 3, it reportedly let them pull roughly 600 robots off the assembly line entirely. 600 robots, just gone. And the cost savings on that rear underbody alone? Analysts who have studied the teardown put it somewhere around 40%. But here's the number that should actually worry Tesla's competitors. Development timelines. Building a new car body used to take automakers close to 4 years. Researchers who studied this shift found some manufacturers compressing that down to 18, maybe 24 months. That's not a small win. That's the difference between launching one model cycle and launching 2 in the same window. So, Tesla built a faster, cheaper way to make a car. Neat story. Except that's not actually why we're here. Because over the last 2 years, nearly every major automaker on the planet decided they had no choice but to copy it. Ford, GM, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Volvo, Rivian. Basically every Chinese electric vehicle maker you could name. Everyone's doing their version of this now. Which raises the real question. If everyone's copying the same homework, why are some of them pulling ahead? And why is at least one household name years behind schedule? Because that's the actual story here. This stopped being Tesla had a clever idea a while ago. This is now a full-blown arms race with clear winners, clear laggards, and at least one competitor that, on paper, might already be ahead of Tesla. Let's start with them. BYD, the Chinese EV giant. A lot of Western audiences still underestimate, is now reportedly running a 10,000-ton press. That's bigger than Tesla's current fleet standard machines. And they are not just doing it for headlines. Sourcing from earlier this year indicates BYD is using that press to replace 74 separate welded stampings with a single casting. 74 parts. One piece of metal. NIO's doing something similar with their ET5 sedan, consolidating 54 parts of the rear underbody into one casting. And the list keeps growing. XPeng, Zeekr, Li Auto, Chery are all in production with their own versions. It is not just a Chinese story either. Rivian's upcoming R2 crossover is reportedly using this same approach to eliminate around 50 stampings and more than 300 individual joints in one section of the vehicle. For a company that is still relatively young compared to Ford or Toyota, that is Rivian betting its entire manufacturing identity on getting this right from day one. No legacy factory to fight against, no decades-old welding lines to rip out first. Here's the uncomfortable part if you are rooting for Tesla in this race. The student is not just catching up anymore. In raw tonnage, BYD's machine is bigger. That does not automatically mean better output. Size is not everything in die casting, but it does mean the gap Tesla opened back in 2020 has, by at least one measure, already closed, maybe even flipped. So if the winners list is dominated by names most casual car buyers have never heard of, who's actually losing this race? That part might surprise you more. Toyota ran an internal demo that honestly should have been an industry-wide wake-up call. Their traditional unibody build, the normal way, takes 86 parts and 33 separate assembly steps spread across multiple hours. Their cast prototype version? Same structural section, reportedly produced in about 3 minutes. 3 minutes versus hours. And Toyota's own internal projections suggest this could eventually deliver something like 20% higher productivity than competitors. So why isn't Toyota already shipping this everywhere, when their own numbers say it works? Good question, and the answer is basically the entire hidden theme of this video. You can prove a technology works in a lab and still be years from using it at scale. That gap, lab success versus factory reality, is exactly where legacy automakers keep getting stuck. You can't just drop a Giga Press into a 100-year-old factory that was built around welding robots and stamping lines. You have to tear the whole body shop apart and rebuild it from the studs. Which brings us to Hyundai. Their version of this, branded Hypercasting, has reportedly been pushed back to 2028. Read that again. Not next year, not the year after. 2028. At a certain point, a delay like that stops being a scheduling issue and starts looking like an admission. The retooling problem is harder than they thought it'd be. Ford's taking a smarter middle path, and it's worth pausing on why. Their approach, called unicasting, is a direct response to a real criticism Tesla earned. Some of Tesla's early cast sections were, according to owners and repair shops, essentially impossible to fix after minor damage. Ford has said publicly that repairability was built into their design thinking from day one. So they're chasing the manufacturing win without inheriting Tesla's repair shop headache. So what does all this actually mean if you're watching from the outside? First, this has quietly become one of the clearest signals of who's genuinely competitive in electric vehicles long term, and who isn't. A company that can't retool its factories fast enough isn't just behind on one manufacturing process. It's showing it can't move at electric vehicle speed. And that's exactly the kind of signal analysts and investors are starting to price in. Second, the repair and insurance world is about to get messier before it gets simpler. As more of these cast unibodies show up across multiple brands, not just Tesla, collision shops that aren't equipped for them are going to get caught off guard. That's not a Tesla owner problem anymore. That's becoming an industry-wide shift in what a simple fender bender actually costs to fix. And third, maybe the most interesting part of all, the pecking order here doesn't line up with brand reputation at all. You'd assume Toyota, with its manufacturing pedigree, would be leading this. It's not. You'd assume Hyundai, aggressive as they've been on EVs, would be ahead. They're not. They're years out. Meanwhile, a company plenty of Western buyers still don't fully respect might currently be running the biggest machine on the planet doing this exact job. And that's really the pattern worth remembering here. The winners in this race aren't the automakers with the deepest history or the biggest name recognition. They're the ones with the least baggage to tear down first. That's an uncomfortable lesson for the Fords and Toyotas of the world, and it might be the single biggest advantage a company like Rivian or BYD actually has going forward. So Tesla didn't just build a better factory tool, it forced a 100-year-old industry into a race it never chose to run. And right now, the standings aren't what most people would guess. The company with the best reputation isn't winning. The company with the biggest budget isn't winning. Right now, it's the ones willing to blow up their own factories that are pulling ahead. But there's one company on this list making a bet that could blow this entire story open in the next 18 months. And it's not the one you're thinking of. That's next.